a video on making some like a fizzy fruit drink. So I'm going to ferment some fruits juices and see if we can make like an old-fashioned type of fizzy pop, because fizzy pop these days is basically carbonated, sweet flavoured water or sweeteners in it with the sugar tax and all that kind of rubbish. So I wanted to see if we can make like a ginger beer, but not made with ginger, maybe fruit juices. So I've got 3 fruit juices, but one of them hasn't defrosted yet because I forgot to take it out of the freezer. So I've got some melon juice, some watermelon juice, not melon juice, but it's watermelon juice. So it's just in a container and it's just defrosting at the moment. So can't do that one just yet. So we'll just have to do the sour cherry juice and the blueberry juice, which is just the juice from some squeezed out. Those were frozen sour cherries, and I was doing something else with them, and that was the juice that came out of the sour cherries once I defrosted them. And these are the blueberries, which I bought some blueberries and then I squished them and then I froze them and then squeezed all the excess juice out of them, and I used the blueberries in a cake, and that's the juice that came out of them. Normally I turn these things into cordials, but we're going to have a go at fruit juices, fizzy fruit juices instead. So pretty straightforward. It's fermenting, and I'm going to use the homemade, home collected yeast as well. So it won't, even if I ferment it for a long time, it won't go very alcoholic because it's not particularly strong yeast in the way that it makes alcohol. It's quite a weak yeast. If I fermented it for a full amount of time, it might get up to about 4%, something like that. Whereas some of the yeasts you can buy get up to about 18%, like a champagne yeast gets up to about 18%. So I think this is going to be ideal for making a fizzy drink, because after 2 or 3 days, or maybe 4 days of fermenting, the alcohol content will be low, but it will be nice and fizzy. So I haven't reduced the juices, so they are just as they come. Obviously I've got these juices, but I kind of think if you were to buy something like, you can buy 100% pure pomegranate juice, which would work in the same way. I've just sweetened them slightly, so I'll put about, there is 450 millilitres of blueberry juice, and I put in about 50 grams worth of sugar, and I put 50 grams worth of sugar in the about 700 millilitres of cherry juice. I put slightly more than that because I just kind of want to balance. The idea is that we want it to be sweet but not overly sweet. So straightforward process. Sterilised jars, sterilised bottles, and then we're going to do this on the cheap. So all I've really done is paid for, well, the juices are a byproduct of something else. So I haven't had to buy the juices because I've used them for something, the fruit in them for something else. So, and it's home collected yeast, so all I had to buy was the grapes. There is a video on my collecting natural yeast somewhere. So that's just bubbly because of the way I pour it in. And then I've got another sterilised bottle for the blueberry. I'm not bothered about cross-contamination of a little bit of flavour. Can't see on camera, but I am actually doing this. It just sounds like I'm having a wee. With those there, that there, and then we just need to get a little bit of the juice out of the grapes. So just these are the grapes, and there's juice that comes to the top. Give it a stir. So I put some fresh grapes in the other day just to kind of feed it just a little bit more. So you just kind of keep it in the fridge, and it carries on fermenting really, really slowly. Now and again you add a few more new grapes to it, and it just kind of feeds the fermentation. So we're going to put in 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons in that one, and then we'll put, this is slightly bigger container, so we'll put 3 in here. So yeah, so this is going to be done, this is done on the cheap. I haven't had to buy the yeast, I've just had to buy the grapes, and then I'm not going to use a fancy airlock. I'm going to use the, I suppose I really should have strained that, but fair enough. And then I'm going to use the super cheap version of fermenting things and using an airlock, which is a balloon. So what you do is you get your balloon and you put it on there, or you squeeze the air out first, and then you know it's fermenting. But what the balloon acts as the yeast starts to produce carbon dioxide, the balloon fills up, and we're going to put a pinprick in the balloon, and so that it will the pressure on the inside of the balloon will stop any air and bacteria and yeast getting to the fermenting liquid. So we just need to put a pin picket in there. So as the pressure builds up, the air will be allowed to escape, so it won't, the balloon won't ping off because there's a hole in it. But the pressure of the inside of the container and the balloon together will stop any air getting into it, so it'll work like an airlock. So there we go, those two holes in there, and then it'll start to ferment. It'll start to ferment straight away, but we won't be able to notice it. So these balloons, there's no kind of air particularly much in them at the moment. And we should get that air out of there. No, fine. So there won't be much going on at the moment, but it will be fermenting because this is slowly fermenting. And then when the watermelon juice has defrosted, I'll do the same with that. So it'll take a couple of days to get going before we kind of notice anything really happening. Just need to give it a little bit stir. There's a bit of a sediment. So it'll take a couple of days to start fermenting, and then we can just see how long we want to leave it before we're going to give it a drink. But I reckon about 4 days, because I'm fermenting something at the moment with that, and it's really fizzy, really fizzing at the moment. So I reckon about 4 days. So when we come back, it will have started fermenting. I'll show it fermenting slowly, and then we'll do it as it ferments quicker, which will be at the time that we're going to start drinking it. But it's just an interesting little experiment. I'm sure it will work. So we have fermentation. That's been going for about 2 days now. So it's going to be nice and fizzy, and we'll probably have tomorrow. I think we'll have a look at it tomorrow. We'll see if it's fizzy to drink tomorrow, which will be like 4 days old, something like that. That one is starting to ferment. You can see the bubbles coming up there, and then this is the watermelon, which looks like it's yeah, there we go, it's starting to ferment. However, it's split, so there's all the red of the watermelon has gone to the bottom, and it's like a clear colour, but it started to ferment, so we can see it. That's okay. I'm just focus in, but it's not just fermenting enough to make the balloon like that. So I don't know why that is, but it'll probably be fine in the morning if we can focus. Why don't you want to focus? Maybe it's because I'm moving around too much, but it is fermenting just a little bit. But anyway, that'll be longer before it's ready. Whereas we might be able to taste those two tomorrow and see if they like fizzy pop. So the watermelon is really bubbling. It's not been going as long as the. Can we focus in on those? It's not been going as long as those, but I think I'm going to risk it. I'll put it in the fridge and we'll chill it, and then what we'll do is I'll put the balloons still on the top, so they're completely going. I'll put them a lid on one, and the others I'll leave the balloons on top. So we'll see if actually putting a lid on builds up a bit of pressure inside and makes it fizzier. And I'll do that with the blueberry one. So I'll do that with, can't point, so I'm using both my hands. This one, I'll put a lid on it, and we'll see how it turns out. It's just got that bit of dried fruit there, but you know, can you see that one's bubbling as well? So they've been going the same amount of time. That was going about 2 days less. So we're up to about 4 days of fermenting with those. So it will have started turning into alcohol, but very low amount of alcohol in it. It'll just be just fizzy more than anything. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so put them in the fridge, chill it down, and then it'll be nicer to drink. I suppose I really should try a bit now, but I'm going out. But nah, be fine. The pop has been in the fridge, and the balloons have done that. So they were full, and they've done that. I don't know if that's down to changing atmospheric pressure, or maybe down to the air because it's now colder has shrunk. I don't know. But anyway, so this is the one that we put the cap on. This is the blueberry. So hopefully it might fizz. There's a little bit of gas that came out of that, so hopefully there's a little bit of bubbles moving around, but not like, oh no, that's no, it's not fizzing like I wanted it to do. I think we might need to have it fermenting for another couple of days. It's really intense though. It's a really intense flavour. So let's see what this one's like. So this is the cherry. You might just need to ferment it for longer to get it to fizz. It's really intense. It needs to I think it needs watering down, so it needs some water in it, just so it's not as intense. Maybe if we put that back on. Let's move the balloon. Put the balloon back on that, and we'll leave it out until tomorrow. And then instead of putting it in the fridge, we'll pour it when it's at room temperature over some ice and see what happens with that. That's that. And then let's have a taste of the watermelon. No, it's just not fizzy. But let's have a taste of it. I mean, it's got a bit of a fizz to it when you drink it. That's nice. That's really nice. I just need to ferment it for longer to get it fizzy. When we pour it out, we'll do that. We'll ferment it for a bit longer. We'll try it. We'll try one of them again when the bubbles start coming, when it starts fermenting. So we'll pour some out while it's fermenting, and then we'll leave it for. If that doesn't work, we'll leave it for another couple of days and see if we can get it really, really bubbly. Right. So they've been out of the fridge for 24 hours. They're really bubbling. I put a top on that one a little while ago because I'm thinking maybe it needs to build up pressure, and maybe putting it in the fridge cooled it down too quick before it could build up pressure, and maybe it's the pressure that's going to trap it in the air in the liquid, and that's what's going to make it fizzy when I pour it out of the bottle. So let's try one. Let's try that one first. I think I need to cut down on the actual fruit juice that's gone into them, because they are really kind of quite rich. Okay, a little bit fizzy. It's fizzy, but it's fizzy when you drink it. It's not like loads of bubbles coming from it like a can of Coca-Cola type thing, but it's fizzy. That's delicious. So the same should have happened with this one. It might just be a case of building up pressure in it and then putting it in the fridge so it's cool, or pouring it over some ice. I don't think I've got any ice. Yeah, it tastes. I've got on the ice. I've got a bit of ice. So it tastes fizzy, but not, but like a little bit flat fizzy, if that makes sense. So the fermentation is still happening in this one, but it's slowed down a little bit. So I wonder if that has kind of captured the. See, you heard that. So I wonder if. Ah, right. Okay. Ah. It certainly wants to overfizz now. Ah, okay. Ah. So it's still fizzy, and it's fizzy in there. So it might be the ice. It might be the ice. But it might be because we built up pressure in the bottle and then pour it into the no, I think it's because we built up pressure in the bottle. Can I see any bubbles coming through there? I don't think so. I don't think so. Right, so I deduce that we have to put a lid on it, build some pressure inside, so it's still fermenting in the bottle, because obviously when we put it, you know, I've got dough on my hands. Be making bread and dough just gets everywhere. It's too hot to make bread, and that's what I found out today. Hottest day of the year so far. So what we need to do is we need to, after 3 or 4 days worth of fermenting, when it's really bubbling, you take off your airlocks, put a lid on, allow it to carry on fermenting for a few hours at room temperature, and then put it in the fridge, and then the build-up of pressure will help it be fizzier. I don't think it's ever going to be as fizzy as like a canned soft drink. I don't think it's ever going to be as fizzy as that, because that's like the forced carbon dioxide into the liquid. So that's it. There we go. Homemade fizzy pop made with the yeast that I collected from some grapes. It works, and certainly a lot healthier than the carbonated fizzy drinks that you buy, because you've got natural yeast in there.